That's probably not good. We'll be back in 60 seconds to talk about it and dive into what the hell is going on in Ohio. Ringing it in. We're back live. It's February 15th, 2023. I want to welcome all of you back to the Opinionated. Wow, I almost forgot my name for a second. Opinionated Idiot YouTube channel. Thank you so much for joining me back live. We're here, and we got a lot to talk about. That right there, that right there is probably not good. It's probably not good. And I'm wondering why the major news networks out there have not been talking about this at all. And I just was looking today, actually the last like 6 hours ago, 8 hours, 6 to 8 hours, has been the first reporting by any major news network of what is actually going on in Palestine, Ohio. Yes, my friends, we're going to switch it up a little bit tonight on the broadcast, but I appreciate you all joining in. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Have you heard of what the hell is going on with this train derailment out in Palestine, Ohio? We have a lot to get into. I have eyewitness accounts on the ground as to what's going on there. We're going to talk about what the EPA is saying. We're going to talk about what Pete Buttigieg is saying, the Treasury Secretary of Transportation. He's completely dropped the ball on this. And of course, what would he be doing at this point? Oh, that's right. It's Orange Man bad. It's his fault. He's the one that did this. Sorry, Pete. Sorry, buddy. You're in charge now, and you've dropped the ball multiple times in situations like this. You don't even have a clue as to what's going on. And while Pete was out there on the trail, the campaign trail the other day, talking to everybody, talking about diversity in the workplace. Now, listen, I'm all for that. But you know what? You got a more serious thing going on out in Ohio right now. And I almost said Idaho because we're talking a lot about Idaho on this channel lately. But Ohio, this is massive chemicals that are completely torching that area right now. This does not look good. I'm going to tell you right now. And the repercussions of this is going to be years down the line. And I'm sure this administration is sweating right now because they have no flipping idea what to do about this. But we got a lot of videos that I'm going to bring up this evening. We have eyewitness accounts that we're going to get into. And I'm furious. I'm furious over this. Shame on the mainstream media. Almost 10 days to actually reporting this. They had the lead crawl on ABC News the other night, and they didn't even mention this as to what was going on. So shame on you. It's been the smaller media outlets that have been reporting on this, YouTube channels reporting on this, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, not even anything in the mainstream media. And I'll tell you, no one knew about this. You know how many people knew about this? It's funny. I went into work and I was talking to a colleague. And I said, hey, did you hear about what's going on with the derailment out in Idaho, the chemical spill? That's terrible. That's pluming. This almost looks like Chernobyl, looks like a war cloud. No, I haven't heard about that. I started showing him pictures. Oh my God. He's like, what's going on? I said, you know what? We're gonna test this over the next 24 hours or so. Let's see how many people have actually heard about this. So more employees come into my work, and I started asking, I never even heard about this. I said, let's ask the vendors when they come, because I'm sure that they listen to the radio, they hear everything that's going on. We have vendors that come in and out of my work, on a almost hourly basis. And I said, hey, da 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 da, have you heard about what's going on in Ohio, the train derailment? I haven't heard anything about that. So shame on the mainstream media. Shame on you. You have not been reporting on this. And this is a major issue right now that's going on. I mean, contamination of the air, contamination of the soil. They're starting to detect issues as far as Pennsylvania right now. Pennsylvania. I mean, you can only imagine what the wind is going to carry all this. And, look, once stuff goes up, it's got to come down. It's got to come down. So, yeah, action-packed show this evening. We're going to get into this. Let me just attend to some business really quick, as I thought. Come on, YouTube. You got to get better at this stuff. I haven't even said anything. You've demonetized me already. I haven't even said anything controversial, but of course, they probably don't want me talking about this, but we're going to talk about it. So let's do this. I have, if you haven't seen what's actually going on down on the ground down there, let me pull up the first video. And this was, this is crazy. Susan's in the house. Howdy, Susan. How are you? Good to see you over here. I'm sure the show will pick up. We're gonna change the format a little bit this evening. Talk about some things that we normally don't talk about over here, but it's a big issue that's happening over here. And I'm not sure if you've even heard about this over in Australia, but let's play this little 1 minute and 13 second video here of actually the first report by the EPA. And you can actually see the fire here. And apparently what had happened was this train caught fire, and I think it was for almost 20 miles or of this before this derailment. So the cart was actually on fire before this happened. But let's play through this
Today, the
really quick.
EPA said the train that derailed and caught fire in East Palestine,
Look
Ohio,
at this.
was carrying.
This is insane. This is people's neighborhoods. Look at the toxic chemicals that are going up into the atmosphere. There's reports that animals are dying, like literally just healing over and dying. There's fish dying everywhere. There's frogs. I mean, it's the birds just dying and falling in the streets. There's reports of people saying that the chemicals are so strong, it's burning their eyes, it's burning their lungs, their skin gets itchy and irritated and dried out, and you could put as much over-the-counter lotion on your skin to try to rehydrate it, and it's just not working. I mean, the land in this area, this is farmland, this is middle America. This is, you can't plant on this soil anymore. This is going to contaminate the water, people's lives in their houses there. They're going to have to leave. They're not going to be able to sell that property and recoup from this. So, I mean, this is a big misstep here, a big misstep of what happened.
And actually released more toxic chemicals than was
Look at
first
this.
reported. Ohio Governor
This
Mike
is-
DeWine
this
also revealed.
Wasn't even reported. It took 10 days for the media to report this. The mainstream media, they weren't talking about it. Pete Buttigieg, who is the in charge of transportation, said not one thing while he was out speaking over the last week, and then finally took to Twitter yesterday and started talking about this. A week. The incompetence of this man and this administration is terrible.
Feeling that the train was not categorized as carrying high-risk chemicals. He now wants Congress to look into that. Water quality has been one of many concerns following that disaster. Chemicals did reach the Ohio River, and 3,500 fish have likely died in streams and tributaries. But Ohio officials today trying to reassure the public.
So good news, there doesn't appear to be any increase in the fish or aquatic creatures killed since the first couple of days of the derailment.
The Ohio River is very large.
The first couple of days, but we got to look at this now. A year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. 30, 40, 50 years, 100 years, what is this going to do to that area? It's almost going to be unlivable there. This chemical was so toxic. It's so toxic.
And it's a water body that's able to dilute the pollutants pretty quickly.
And I ain't going to believe anything they're saying. I'm not going to believe anything that these people are saying.
SB may be zeroing in on the disastrous cause.
Look how close this was to the houses around there. I mean, this is right in the middle of a town. Right in the middle of a town. Let's pull up another video here. I got another video of the, I guess, so what was decided was they were afraid that these containers were going to explode. And they decided to leak this chemical out and do what's called a controlled burn. But I probably wouldn't want to be breathing that. So let's play this video here. And, you know, if you haven't seen this yet, this is crazy. This was the controlled burn. This is in the middle of a town. Jesus. Oh my God. Look at the black smoke. I mean, how can you say that's safe? They're telling people they can go back home. It's been a week. Oh, it's safe now. You can go back home. Look at the smoke. I wouldn't even want to be around there. I mean, that cloud don't look too good. I probably wouldn't want to breathe that. Wow. So just to give you kind of some, you know, eyewitness to what's going down, there's some video that's what's going down there. I'm going to pull up a few articles now, and then I have some more videos of actual eyewitnesses that are on the ground giving accounts of what's actually going on, the disorganization, you know, what the EPA is saying down there. But I mean, it's just really, really crazy stuff. Let me pull this up first. So Pete Buttigieg breaks the silence after criticism over Ohio train derailment, and he literally, it took him, I mean, he is in charge of transportation. He's in charge of this, and it literally took him almost a week to say something about this. So Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg has spoken out after the train containing hazardous materials derailed on February 3rd in the Ohio town of East Palestine, close to the border of Pennsylvania. Excuse me. And like I said, they're already detecting dangerous chemicals in Pennsylvania. You're already seeing that being detected there. Around 5,000 people were evacuated from a 1 of 2 mile area surrounding East Palestine on the orders of the Ohio and Pennsylvania state governors, though this order has since been lifted. So they're telling people that they can go back to their home. We had a toxic plume over their town, and this colorless, odorless gas that leaves actually a residue basically on everything that it's going to touch. And as we know, as things go up, they need to come back down. On Monday, authorities blew holes in 5 railway carts to drain them of vinyl chloride, a colorless gas amidst fears it could explode. Buttigieg gave a Twitter update on Monday evening in which he said, and this is last Monday, so it had been a week already. The transportation secretary didn't even say anything about this for a week. Buttigieg gave a Twitter update on Monday evening in which he said, the Federal Environment Protection Agency, which is EPA, was conducting tests for volatile organic compounds and other chemicals of concern. He said, I continue to be concerned. Yeah, he's concerned. You haven't fucking done anything. You're not doing anything about it. You're just concerned. We're going to look into it. We're concerned. We're going to check it out. You know, that's what it always is with this stuff. He said, I continue to be concerned about the impacts of February 3rd train derailment near East Palestine, it's not Palestine, Ohio, and the effects on the families in the 10 days since their lives were upended through no fault of their own. It's important that families have access to useful, accurate information. And it's not just 10 days. I mean, this is going to be years, the fallout of this for years in that area. I mean, this is farmland. You're not even going to be able to do anything with that soil. It's going to take years to clean this up. And what does it do in the drinking water there? And this is old Pete's tweet right here. We've already read through that. And I'll tell you right now, he's getting roasted on Twitter. People are yelling for his resignation and of the handling of this. Buttigieg continued. U.S. Department of Transportation has been supporting the investigation by the National Transportation Safety Board. Our Federal Rail Administration and Pipelines hazard materials teams were on site within hours of the initial incident and continue to be actively engaged. We will look into these investigations results and based on them, we use all relevant authorities to ensure accountability and continue the report safety. In the meantime, our federal partners in EPA and the on-site monitoring indoor and outdoor air quality test for VOCs and other chemicals of concern. EPA screened 291 homes with no detection identified and 181 homes remain. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. On Monday, Buttigieg addressed National Association of Counties Conference in which he came under fire online for not providing a detailed update on East Palestine train crash. It's because you'd spent a week, dude, and you're in charge of this. And you haven't said anything. People have no direction down there. FEMA's not on site. Nothing's happening. No one's getting any clean drinking water. Nina Turner, a former Ohio State Senator and Democrat. This is a Democrat. He jokes about balloons while East Palestine, Ohio, we deserve better than this. So even your own party's attacking you, dude. Maya Flores, a Republican who represented Texas in the House, commented, silence from the press and the federal government is a derelict of duty to the public. Where's Pete Buttigieg? Buttigieg, whatever. How will this Ohio train derailment affect our farmers, nearby population, and the supply chain for Americans? Yeah, you got to look into that too. This is going to affect the supply chain now. It's going to be 2000, it's going to be COVID-19 part 2. We just went through that. And it's just now starting to see, maybe this is starting to work itself out a little bit here. But now, I mean, look at this. This is going to hurt the supply chain. That's a major area through Ohio. The train runs through there, to get to East Coast, West Coast. Nobody was killed in the Ohio train crash, though Ron Kamenkow, secretary of the Rail Workers, a nonprofit of Rail Workers Union United Against, argued that it should be a wake-up call for authorities. Speaking to The Guardian, he said, the Palestine wreck is the tip of the iceberg and a red flag. If someone is not done, it's going to get worse, and the next derailment could be cataclysmic. Following the crash, there were reports of hundreds of dead fish being found in the streams that runs through East Palestine. Who cares for Taylor Holzer, who cares for rescue animals, told Newsweek that one of his foxes had died in his arms. It's terrible, which he believes was caused by the chemical spill and exposure. Yeah, you think? You think? Susan, I know you've been chatting. I'm just trying to get into a groove here. I appreciate it. Said this made our news last night, and they were stating how dangerous situation. It's terrible. I mean, it's awful. People can't be down there. I'm pissed. I'm really angry about this. I mean, look at hundreds of dead fish found. I mean, it's killing. I mean, I wouldn't drink that water. How safe is that water? You know, in classic Democrat, classic Pete Buttigieg, I knew this is going to be it. It's not his fault. You know, why would it be his fault? It's Trump's fault. It's Trump. We knew that was going to happen. Why take the, you know, why not be you know, a man of dignity, step up and say, hey, you know what? I screwed up here, but I'm gonna fix things here. No, we're gonna go back to the guy that was in office 3 years ago, and we're gonna stop blaming him. Oh, we were constrained. You know what? You had 3 years to figure all this shit out. If there was laws and regulations and all that, you had 3 years to look at the books and fix all this. But now, because you haven't been paying attention to your job, you haven't been doing your job. Now we're going to go back and blame the other guy because it's his fault. He's the one that did it. He's the one that put all. It doesn't work that way, dude. Doesn't work that way. We're constrained by the laws on some of the areas of the railroad regulation, Buttigieg tweeted. Well, you have the power to change it, dude. You have the president in the office that's on your side. All you got to do, knock on the door. Hey, brain dead. We need to change a few things over here. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg shifted part of the blame for the recent derailment of the train carrying toxic chemicals in Ohio on the Trump administration, reversing a little-known safety rule. Buttigieg noted Tuesday evening that his agency had taken serious steps to improve the rail safety, though historic investments, but said it was constrained by the Trump administration action. 2018, the Department of Transportation withdrew a rule purposed 3 years earlier, requiring trains to carry certain dangerous chemicals to utilize electronically controlled brakes, saying that the technology benefits were inclusive. In the wake of East Palestine derailment, its impact on hundreds of residents, we're seeing lots of newfound and renewed interest in our work on the rail safety. So I wanted to, you know, the funny thing about this, what was the big thing that Biden said when he got in office 3 years ago? Oh, we're going to improve the railway system. He had a hard on for the railway system. Well, obviously, they haven't done anything. Obviously, he hasn't done anything. And now we're going to fall back on the previous president. We're going to blame them. Well, he's not in office. You're in office. I blame you. You're the leader. You guys are running this department. Oh man, this stuff makes me angry. On February 3rd, a train carrying vinyl chloride, a dangerous colorless gas that operated by transportation company Norfolk South Railroad, derailed in Columbiana County, Ohio, which is located along the Ohio-Pennsylvania border. Shortly after the derailment, Norfolk Southern opted to release the gas from the derailed cars, potentially releasing deadly fumes. No, I think it did release deadly fumes into the air to prevent a potentially dangerous explosion. The local residents were told to evacuate the area, but be assured that it was safe to return on the February 9th. Would you want to return back to your home after that plume was released in the atmosphere? I mean, and in a few minutes, we're going to get to an eyewitness account that's been on the ground down there, and they're going to tell you what's been going on. A resident that lives in that area. She actually spoke on the Glenn Beck show. We're going to pull that up in a minute. I hope I don't get shut down for that because I know the sensitivities of playing other people's material, but I support Glenn Beck all the way. Go over, check out his channel, subscribe. The railroad company is responsible for this and for the people who went back to their homes. A local hazardous materials specialist told Fox News on Tuesday their homes should have been tested. Their homes should have been cleaned from the onset. These people were marginalized in the effort to mitigate this. This really looks like a nuclear winter, he added. Pretty much, yeah, we nuked this town with chemicals. You can't go back here. You can't go back there and live. Student says they used potentially too much when it was inevitable. And she's saying that she just heard about that on her local news. Buttigieg, meanwhile, has been blasted for his slow response to the derailment. He waited 10 days to address the situation, promising to use relevant authorities to ensure accountability and continue the support and safety. Yeah, okay, Pete. Let's play this video here. This looks like someone on the expert. Let's play this. Let's see what he has to say. Hazardous.
Now's the time at
A
Namco.
little bit of an ad here. Let's deal with that real quick. Sorry, guys. Just bear with me another 24. So I appreciate everybody, joining in on the stream. I know it's a little different than what I've been doing. You got to change up the material, but we're going to be back tomorrow night. We're going to do some more Idaho, and I have some callers actually calling in tomorrow night.
Copool President's Day sale going on.
We got about another 3 seconds with this ad. Hopefully we can pull up this video. Let's see what we got here.
We basically nuked a town with chemicals so we could get a railroad open. What do you mean?
I was watching a video a couple of days after they detonated all
Exactly.
the tanker cars.
10 days later,
There's this
Robert.
plume that went up, and
10
everybody's
days
seen the
later.
photographs of this plume that went up. And it stratified out at about 3,000 feet. And then this guy in Darlington, Pennsylvania, I believe, started showing pictures of this black stuff precipitating out of this cloud, this dark cloud over his house. And it reminds you of that nuclear winter stuff that you see when
It's
you
unreal. Look
you
at this
watch these
cloud.
nuclear explosion programs and stuff. And I'm saying, wow,
The mainstream media did nothing to talk about this. I'm pissed.
really looks like a nuclear winter. And I said, well, pretty much, yeah. We nuked this town with chemicals, and this is what they're getting.
Right.
And we're trying. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we're showing the plume, that black plume, and the stuff goes up, and then it comes down, and then what happens? I know you're worried there could be cancer clusters in 5, 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
It could impact
I'd say.
groundwater and well water. And there are fish dying in nearby
disaster.
waterways, and people's pets are dying. So far, to
Yeah.
your first point, I wouldn't go back into that house either until it's cleaned and somebody from the FDA, or rather the EPA in Washington, actually
ain't gonna get
walks
anything
into
out
the
of
house
them.
and takes a look around and says, "Okay, I feel
No.
satisfied. Folks can safely return."
Well, to your point, the EPA is taking it so seriously that as of yesterday, they have made the entire town of East Palestine a Superfund cleanup site. That's serious. That's not, there's no joking around there.
Look at this
And
freaking
in
cloud.
reading some of the correspondence that I had this morning,
Why was no one
the
reporting
EPA
on
is now
this?
highly suspect of the fact that the
No one said
railroad may
anything.
have buried toxic waste in
10
order to get
days.
the rail
The
line
media
back
to
open
start
again.
reporting on
It was
this.
buried under the rails from that
Mainstream
trench that they
media,
dug.
ABC
So they're
News.
investigating that.
CNN, no
So there
one.
is this whole rush, with this whole thing, and it's left the people of East Palestine, kind of holding the bag here, and they shouldn't be. You had vinyl chloride,
Look at
butyl
this
acrylate,
fucking plume
ethylene
cloud.
acetate, ethylene glycol monobutyl. These are bad chemicals. Vinyl chloride itself, when you burn it, separates out into phosgene gas and hydrogen chloride. And we're still not even talking about if there's any digoxins produced, and those are serious chemicals.
Well, I know you've raised the alarm. Let's see what happens. Silvario Caggiano. Silvario, thank you very much for joining us live and giving us your point of view.
All right, that was a little bit of segment from Fox News. And what I want to do now is pull up this. Man, I'm so angry about this. I'm going to pull up a eyewitness account that was on the Glenn Beck show the other day. So she actually called in and Glenn spoke with her. You can get a firsthand account here of what actually is going on in the ground down there in East Palestine. But let's listen to her, and she gives a really good account of what's actually going on down there. Let's pull this up. And Glenn, I love you. I hope I don't get shut down. Let's play.
I want to welcome in a resident, Caitlin Schwartzwalder. She is the von Schwartz Doberman kennel owner and has been forced to evacuate. But you were there for the first couple of days, were you not, Caitlin?
Hi, Glenn. Yes, I was. So the derailment occurred on Friday evening, and we were there from Friday evening until Sunday evening at 8 p.m. when we were subsequently evacuated. My home and my business are both on Taggart Road, which is the road of the derailment. We have 27 acres. And from driveway to derailment is 1.2 miles. And from the edge of the property to the derailment is less than a half a mile. And the railroad tracks actually butt up to the back of the property by 10 feet.
Holy cow. So when
She's right
you
there.
had the dogs in the kennel, everything was fine until they set this on fire, right?
I wouldn't say fine. To be honest with you, the area looks like a war zone. It looks like I would assume Ukraine to look like. There's military tankers every half mile. There's police personnel blockading roads. It's beyond anything imaginable, and it's so surreal to think that this is our home.
Phone charging slowly? This is the fastest % chance.
So when you are evacuated, you immediately take all of the dogs out, but then you have horses too, don't you?
Correct. So on Sunday evening, with the help of Bearded Brothers moving.
I think my microphone came back. I was just saying, if I lived there, I wouldn't want to go back to that area. I mean, would you want to go back to that area with that plume cloud? And I cannot believe that the EPA is saying that it's okay to go back in this area for residents to go back home. I mean, and you got to think, this is just one person. People are displacing their homes, their families, their pets, their way of life, and the EPA saying go back. I mean, this is like 9/11 all over again. This is the, the Twin Towers that have fallen, all that diesel fuel that burned in those piles for months of the Twin Towers that really, you're burning electrical components, steel, asbestos, all those chemicals that were in the concrete were just burning for months. Everybody in and around that area got sick. All the people, all the firefighters and first responders that went down to the pile to help try to find survivors that worked for months to clean that place up. The workers that were there, they all got sick. I wouldn't go back and I wouldn't go to this area. Thanks for letting me know, Robert, for the heads up on the sound. I appreciate that.
Group, which is
I have a little mute button on my microphone. I've been a little sick over the last couple of days, and I don't want to cough on mic. So thank you.
Local moving group in Ohio. They came with their moving trucks. We evacuated 30 dogs between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. the next morning. They were able to transport all of the cages and kennels, and I had my own vehicles to make multiple trips to transport the dogs. We had them all evacuated to a private residence by the next morning. It's less than an ideal situation, but it's all we have, in this time. The home is not fenced. The dogs do have to live in in cages
My heart
because
bleeds for these people down there.
there's not an appropriate setup. I mean, what kind of appropriate
How
setup
do
can
you
you make in one
prepare for
evening?
like this? You're not prepared.
So we evacuated the dogs between Sunday night and Monday morning. The original time of the controlled detonation was supposed to be 12 in the afternoon on Monday. At 11 o'clock, we were evacuating horses. I own one horse, and my neighbor has 8 other horses across the street. My horse is only 6 months old. She's a baby. And we had to load these horses onto trailers. They were all upset from the noises and the banging and the, just emergency personnel flying up and down the road. We had a terrible time trying to get them loaded onto trailers and evacuated. And believe it or not, our local police department, specifically Officer Frederick, he actually came into the horse pastures with us and helped us move the horses out, because all we knew that, the controlled detonation was happening at noon. And, obviously there was a chance of a catastrophic failure prior to that. So we were all just kind of, wishing and hoping for the best and trying to get these animals to safety. And we did. And the controlled detonation didn't end up happening until I believe about 4:38 on Monday. And then kind of all hell broke loose.
So tell me now what happened after the explosion, because they've just come out. EPA has come out and said, "Oh, it's fine."
Yeah.
But were there some people that stayed or they left their animals? Behind.
Unfortunately, some people had to leave their animals because they didn't have a place to evacuate that was, animal friendly. Some people left the animals, and unfortunately, some of those animals have died. There are stories of a woman with chickens. I have spoken with her personally. Anytime there's any kind of animal death, of course, because I'm so close, I do a little more digging, and I've actually personally spoken to these people who have had herds of chickens die, who have had domestic foxes die. I have a personal friend whose family member's dog went out into the yard and never came back inside, a 2-year-old healthy dog. My personal dogs, just from the 2 days that they were there and exposed to just, the fire fumes and whatnot, whatever was, in the air prior to the detonation. I had 4 dogs needing to have emergency veterinarian services because they were projectile vomiting, very lethargic. So, I can't even imagine what it would be like for...
Yeah, I'm sure she's going to say this right now. I mean, if her dogs are like that, I can only imagine what it's doing to human beings down there. This is crazy.
A human or an animal to be there during the controlled detonation or being there now. I can't imagine. We've had to go back a couple of times for supplies because, I had to move an entire business in one evening, as well as my own personal things. And we've had to go back, and going back is extremely uncomfortable. It is, there's physical symptoms each and every time we go.
It's
from
terrible.
Itchy, burning, watery eyes, itchy, burny throat, coughing. It was a weird sensation of like your eyes pulsating. It almost felt like your eyes had a heartbeat. Our skin was so dry that even, your general moisturizers that you put on, after a shower have still not
and making a good point there, Robert, it's just, must be bad on such short exposure. I mean, can you imagine having to go back there and live? And the EPA is telling people that they can go back into this area. There's no way in hell you could pay me enough money to go back there. And these poor people you can't sell that property. Who the hell's going to buy any of that? You can't have agriculture in that area. You can't plant anything now. The water's contaminated. There's fucking animals dying everywhere. And I can only imagine what it's doing to the people in that area just being there. And like I said, this is like 9/11 all over again. The chemicals that are coming out of that area is like the same thing at the pile down at 9/11. People are going to breathe this in. It's going to get into their skin. It's crazy. Yeah, I'm wondering, is anybody out there watching? Are they down in that area? If you are, I'd love to hear you guys call in. Yeah, it's a modern day Chernobyl. It's crazy. And this, no one said anything for 10 days. This wasn't even in mainstream media. I heard about this like on shows like Glenn Beck and other YouTube channels. TikTokers were talking about this. I mean, the administration that's in office right now, they weren't even saying anything about this. This is crazy. This is a catastrophe.
Of the problem. So I can't imagine being back there now. Our plan is to most likely not go back ever.
This poor lady.
But we're just trying to fund all these things and trying to just figure out where life has to go from here.
So what is it like on the ground today? Because this detonation, happened a week ago Sunday.
5 people watching.
And the EPA is saying, "Oh, you can go back in," and some people are.
A little thumbs up.
But as you said, they're experiencing difficulties.
Yeah. So I was there yesterday. I was continuing to grab some more kennels for the dogs to make the situation here a little bit better. And we couldn't stand to be there for more than 30 minutes. So I don't know how people are doing it. What I know is still, as of yesterday, it doesn't look like our normal town of East Palestine in Darlington, Pennsylvania. It looks like something out of a movie. Like it's empty. I think the media is not.
The crazy thing is, I heard someone was talking about. No, FEMA has not even been down on site there yet. M8. The crazy thing is, there's what was I reading today? There was a Netflix movie or a series that literally had a derailment in Ohio. It was a chemical spill, and it was like almost like life imitating art. It's so spooky how things like that work out and things happen. But FEMA has not, and you know who's in charge of that? Old Pete Buttigieg there. Mr. I'm going to wait 10 days to say something about this. He should be directing FEMA.
Appropriately displaying the fact that people aren't going back. Some people who didn't have the financial means to stay away any longer came back, but I think anybody who had an option did not go back.
By the way, this is the first time anybody's watched my channel.
So
please make sure to go down and subscribe.
They're now worried that all of this stuff is
hit the bell notification as well. So every time I go live or drop a new video, you guys can have firsthand knowledge of when that happens.
Seeping into the water supply.
But again, we're doing something a little bit different this evening. I appreciate all the people that have, stopped by and commenting, and it shows me that you guys are interested in, other topics. And, yes, this is true crime. It's true crime that's going on here in America. It's things that just, are not being taken care of. And this is a crime on the people that are, down in that area in Ohio. I feel bad for these people. I mean, this is going to displace thousands of people, and they didn't ask for this. This is a crime in with itself, and people will have to pay for this. Someone's going to be held responsible, but it's going to take a long time to get this all cleaned up. Robert's saying, I'm worried for the fallout trail because it could go a long way. Absolutely. Robert, if you haven't even heard yet, they already said that they're detecting chemicals already in the neighboring state of Pennsylvania. And I believe that there was, some being detected in Virginia as well. And the funny thing about this is like the third derailment within like 2 weeks with trains with chemicals. I believe there was one in Texas, and I can't remember the other place as well either. MA is saying, while this will have a lasting effect on bottled water, people need to be scared for sure. And also produce is going to the affected zones. This will not only affect Ohio. This is a 100% correct on point that you just made there, M8. Yeah, bottled water is probably going to go up. You're probably going to have a scarce of bottled water, and also with the inflation that we're seeing right now here in America. You're going to see produce prices rise. You're going to see the supply chain slow down because middle America is really where our railway systems work to get supplies from the East Coast to the West Coast. So this is going to, we're already back 3 years now. We're back to COVID, when the supply chain issues where it looked like things were kind of starting to, hammer itself out a little bit, but now you're going to have issues again. It's crazy. Let's keep playing through this video and listen to Caitlin here.
And I know Pennsylvania is just closed down one of the plants, but the EPA said they had screened 291 homes near the crash site. It has not detected any levels
bullshit
of vinyl chloride or hydrogen chloride.
Bullshit.
And they said they still have to screen, but it's safe, and they're not
safe.
finding
Not safe down
anything
there.
in the water.
No, that's bullshit. You have fish
believe
dying.
that?
My understanding is that, I have talked with some chemical engineers and environmental services, and essentially it's not supposed to be in the water just yet. From my understanding, the vinyl chloride is like water, and it travels through the ground and the soil like water. So, being, a mile, 1.2 miles away, like we are, other locations within a mile, it takes time for this stuff to travel to the ground. We've not had much rain. I think in the last 7 days, we've had 1 day of a little bit of rain. They're saying that right now, they're not surprised if it tests okay. But in 4, 5, 6 months from now, these levels could be astronomical. And that is the concern. That is my concern. That is others' concern, not to mention the fact that physically being there is uncomfortable.
And yeah, I mean, you have 20, what did you say, 26, 27 acres. This is farmland. Yeah. What are people going to do? Yeah. I mean, you're not going to be able to sell this land.
I mean, corn prices are going to go up. I mean, wait till corn prices start rising, because that's a huge area for corn.
That's kind of why we're in a rock and a hard place right now. I have a 7,500 square foot facility. I have a beautiful home. I have other buildings that I've built on the property as well. So I have a great investment into this property that now went from, X amount of dollars to maybe being able to sell it for a fraction of what it's worth. Maybe. I mean, who in their right mind would buy something, something on Taggart Road right now? Right. I couldn't imagine. So, now we're faced with the issue of little to no help from anybody. And we're faced with the issue of having to potentially own 2 large properties, and funding and the ability to own 2 pieces of land and 2 buildings and 2 facilities and pay, 2
mortgages.
taxes.
Yeah, taxes, mortgages.
It's going to be nearly impossible for a small business.
So, Caitlin, hold on for 1 minute. And when I come back, I want to ask you what we can do to help. I mean, I know our audience well enough to know, and we want to help. How can we help you? We'll get that answer from you here if you have one, coming up in just a second. This is bad. We're looking at now, if you want to use that land again, I think you're going to have to dig up and take quite a bit off the topsoil.
Yeah, I mean, he's saying the problem is that M8 is saying the problem is that the only fix is to ban the city. Yeah, I mean, this is like Centralia. I don't know if you've ever heard of Centralia. Centralia is kind of was used as a background for Silent Hill, the video game, and I think apparently they might have. I think they made some movies out of it too. I don't really follow the movie. I played the game many years ago when it first came out. I think it was on like PS2 or PS3. So Centralia, if you look it up, basically what happened was it was a mining city, and I don't know if someone purposely did it or somehow some fires started. It was a huge producer of coal. They had a lot of coal there, coal mines, and somehow a fire started actually down in those mines. And while that happened, these fires burned. And I guess they had been burning for, I think, still to this day, for like 60 years or something like that. And because of the toxic fumes in that city, people had to evacuate and leave. And I think there still are, to this day, maybe a few people or a few residents that still live there. I'm not quite sure. You probably could find some information about it on YouTube, but it's essentially Centralia. These people are going to have to leave. I mean, there's just no way. And I think that people that stay in this condition, even though the EPA is saying that it's okay, I think are eventually going to probably get sick. I mean, if you have fish that are just dying, you have birds, and and small game wildlife that are just literally dropping dead, it's probably an issue, and you probably want to get out of that area. So yeah, I mean, it's tragic. It's tragic. And he says, yeah, I remember that town from the game. Yeah, look that up, Centralia. It's really interesting story.
Not an expert in this, obviously, but that's what I'm seeing today. Environmental Protection Agency is like, yeah, don't worry.
Yeah.
I don't believe them. Can I ask you that? Do you believe them, Caitlin?
So I can't comment on that, but what I can comment on is that we were told by Norfolk personnel that the agencies that were coming to our homes to test were from independent laboratories. Now, what I can tell you firsthand is that we had a gentleman from CTEC, which is the so-called independent laboratory. He was sitting in our driveway from the night of the derailment. And we had spoken to him, just very informally. And he said that, and I quote, we follow around the railroad when they make mistakes, and they are happy to have us here. And when, CTEC came to our facility to test our air, they had not offered the services of water at that point in time. They handed me a contract that essentially said that I needed to hold Norfolk, their affiliates, not limited to, but including CTEC, harmless of any future.
You didn't sign it.
In terms of, of course not. Point in
I want to go back to this real quick. So they had members of the EPA come in and start talking to the residents in their home. They brought these documents in for these residents to basically sign and say that they would not be responsible for anything that happens in that specific area, so they could not be sued. So let's I mean, the fucking cover-up's already there. They're already trying to cover it. Yeah, Glenn Beck's amazing. He does a lot for these communities, and I really like his commentary on subjects. Let's listen to this again.
Quote, we follow around the railroad when they make mistakes, and they are happy to have us here.
So basically what she's saying is that this particular organization came in, they supposedly monitor these situations, and they're basically going to have a bunch of paperwork to have these residents sign so they cannot be sued.
And when CTEC came to our facility to test our air, they had not offered the services of water at that point in time. They handed me a contract that essentially said that I needed to hold Norfolk, their affiliates, not limited to, but including CTEC, harmless of any future.
You didn't sign it.
In terms of, oh, of course not.
Yeah, good.
But unfortunately, 340 other residents did sign it. And that's where my heart just breaks for these people, because
not gonna be able to get
we don't know the long-term repercussions of what these chemicals can do in our air, to our environments, to our homes, to our businesses. And they've signed their rights away in the hopes that they're getting help and the right answers from these organizations. And what I can tell you firsthand is that CTEC, the affiliate of Norfolk that came to test the air, was followed by the EPA. And what I can tell you is that we said, can the EPA by themselves come into our kennel? We do not sign this paper. And can they test themselves? Because they're a government organization that has the ability. They had the testing equipment with them. And the answer was absolutely not.
Why?
I can't tell you why. I just, I don't know.
So how could we help you?
I got the feed.
It sounds like if you could get some independent testing, that might be a help. But how could we help you?
I think that's the thing. The thing is that people who have the means to.
But you can't, the thing is, you can't test this area right now. That's not really going to give you an accurate depiction of what's actually going down there. So you're going to have to wait a little bit and see if this stuff settles and what the hell is going to happen.
Stay away and stay evacuated are wanting this independent testing done. Now, I've reached out to 3 different independent laboratories, and they've actually reached out to me as well. Core, Atlas, and Akron, I think, if I say that correctly.
100% right.
And their services, they want retainers between $15,000 and $50,000 to do these independent testings of the land, or of the air, soil, and water. Now they do a whole reconnaissance of the property and the topography, and it's a very, intense procedure and protocol. And I mean, I think that the way to help imminently would be to help fund these, landowners and or people who have stayed evacuated and are demanding these private testings, to fund, essentially help us fund the private testing, because many people can't afford $15,000 to $50,000 up front. Yeah. Especially, I spoke with a gentleman at Core Environmental Services this morning, and I said, these chemical engineers and people making intelligent and professional consensus are saying that this could be 6 to 8 months to a year from now where we're going to see answers. Okay. So if we're having to pay these kinds of retainers up front and have to pay them again maybe in 6 months, again in a year, it's just not feasible for
All right.
people.
So, Caitlin, I want you to hold on the phone. I want to get the names. If Mercury One won't help out on this, I'll pay for those themselves. We'll send some help up there to get your water and your land and your air tested properly and independently.
Right. Yep, that's classy. Super classy by Glenn Beck to step up and help that family. I mean, this is what a mess. I do have there was another eyewitness account I want to get to from, it's from Redacted YouTube channel, and they actually have a eyewitness down there on the ground. They basically go through in this segment everything that I pretty much talked about, but I want to, right here. Let's play this too. This is someone with the Redacted YouTube channel. I really enjoy their content too. So M8 is saying, I think that I will continue to try and get financially stable people to give out full face masks for all children first. Yeah, it's not a bad idea. Let's pull this up real quick and look at the Redacted YouTube channel. And his eyes are kind of weird in this pause, but they have an eyewitness down there.
Been touring the crash site and speaking to the people there locally.
Shout out
welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us.
Go over and hopefully they don't shut me down for using their channel as an example here of just what's going on. But go over and check out their content as well. Make sure to subscribe as well. Let's check this out.
Thank you for having me, Clayton.
So you're literally right where the crash happened. Can you tell us what you're seeing? And we'll talk about what the people are saying in the town as well.
Sure. So right behind me here, you can actually see a lot of the remnants of the explosion that happened here 10 days ago.
I wouldn't even want to be down in that area.
A lot of work in progress. You've got Norfolk Southern has a huge recovery operation.
I don't even know how he's not down there without a mask on. You know what I mean? A mask or something.
Here, mainly it seems, according to the people, because they just want their tracks reopened, and that makes a lot of sense. What we're not seeing is a large response from the federal government. I have not seen anybody with the.
Oh, and by the way, there's another floating conspiracy, and this could just be coincidence, but so here's one for you for put in your pipe and smoke it. So that particular area where this derailment happened and this tragic event happened in the last election, actually during the Trump election, this area voted 70% Republican, and it's a very strong Republican stronghold in Ohio in this particular area. And I find it very funny that we're going into and I'm not throwing conspiracy theory out there. I think it's probably just coincidence, but I'm finding it very strange and funny that we're going into an election season. Let's move those people out of there. They're not going to be able to vote. What would happen? Democrats would take Ohio. So it's very strange.
The EPA or any other of the alphabet soup agencies here on the ground. Right over here is where you'll see that there's an actual intersection, and it actually happened right there. That is where the train car exploded.
Ohio's a swing state.
And it doesn't appear to be like a lot of action there. Have they've been trying to keep you away from that site?
It's funny that you say that, M8, because I actually was having a conversation with one of my vendors today about Ground Zero, and he said that he was down there about 30 days after everything happened. And he said that they went over to the fence, they were watching people work on the pile. And he said the smell, I mean, you could still smell the diesel fuel, the electric, that kind of electric smoke smell of like tires burning. And I mean, it's pretty crazy. Yeah, they've done it before, my friend. I agree.
To an extent. So I was
This
actually
is the area, if you guys are just joining the stream, this is the area right down in East Palestine, Ohio, right at basically Ground Zero where this happened, right along the rail line, getting a look of what's going down there, again, from the redacted YouTube channel.
able to cross over there before. I was actually able to drive through. And then they put this on it. I guess they didn't like me doing that. But I was able to do that before. And I was actually able to talk to some of the property owners around there and get their sentiments on what was going on. In particular, the property that is closest to where the explosion happened. I was able to have about a 30-minute conversation with her. And she was able to...
What did she say?
She basically expressed the fact that the town has just been totally upended here. It's a small town. This is a farmer's town. The epitome of small town America.
It's a farmer's town
right here. This is the biggest shakeup they've ever had. Those were her words. People don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle it. They feel like they've just been abandoned here.
I mean, I appreciate that.
By the federal government, and they feel like they're about to get screwed. Because they don't trust their water sources anymore.
Conversation here.
They don't trust their own gardens anymore.
Yeah.
One of the ladies I talked to said that she wasn't ever going to plant anything in her garden ever again, and felt like she needed to move her kids and her grandkids out of the town.
Yeah.
And they're seriously worried that this town is going to die for this reason.
Of course, and the reason I think one of the reasons you probably went there is because this has been silent. There's been no coverage of this. Watching the mainstream media newscasts last night, no coverage of this, no discussion of this. In fact, the word Chernobyl, America's Chernobyl, has been trending on Twitter over the past 24, 48 hours. That this could be the equivalent of what happened in Ukraine with nuclear fallout. Is that the sense that you're getting from talking to the people there, that they really feel like they may have to leave this town altogether?
They absolutely do, because the issue that they're most fearful of is what are the long-term health ramifications here? Because as you've seen with so many other, like Monsanto, that lawsuit there, it took years and years and years, and it was really difficult for them to prove, and a lot of people never even got paid out. The lady that I spoke to right over here that owned that property compared it, she said, "This is our Camp Lejeune." And that is it's probably very true. I mean, they think that this is going to be totally covered up.
And Emmy, you're making a good point. Like the young lady was saying, on the Glenn Beck show, that they haven't even really got a lot of rain there. Wait until the rain happens and this soaks into the soil. And naturally what happens, water is going to go into the earth. It's going to flow into the streams. And this is going to be everywhere. I mean, it's funny. I was telling people about this at work and talking to my vendors and stuff like that. And they're saying, are they detecting anything here yet? They're concerned and they didn't even know about this. And I try to educate as many people as to what's going on in the world, because I know, one, I love talking about this stuff and I love informing people and getting to learn about what's going on, and people should know about this. And we don't do enough of this nowadays. We don't have these type of conversations. We don't dig and get to peel back the onion and look at all the layers. We don't do enough of that because our lives are so busy. But if I can have the power to do that and look into things and educate and let people know what's going on in this world, I want to do that, and that's why we have these open discussions and we talk about these particular subjects. I know that I've done a lot of true crime lately, but we do political things over here. And this, in a sense, it's a crime as what's happened. This is true crime that happened, and someone's going to ultimately have to pay for this. So hopefully something can get done, and I'm very disappointed right now at the Biden administration. They haven't stepped up. They haven't said anything about this. Pete Buttigieg is failing at his job. And these poor people now that have, no skin in the game here are going to have to suffer because of this. So we'll keep playing through this. This is really interesting to see the kind of first-hand eyewitness of what's going on down there.
They have not been able to get in contact with anybody since the governor did that press conference here at one time. He did Mike DeWine did his rounds to,
right.
Make it look good, soften the blow or whatever.
Right.
And then after that, just radio silence from
it.
everybody. They're getting.
He's
no
not even
support
anybody
here at
down there
all.
right now. Look,
And I
there's
think
no
that has a
workers
lot to
down
do with the
there.
fact that the media aren't. They're not here.
Yeah,
they're not here. I'm the only one looking around here by myself. I haven't seen a single camera anywhere.
It's really unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And you described, just from a few hours there, can you describe the air quality? You were talking about it's bringing tears to your eyes. Can you explain what you're smelling, what you're seeing?
You're watching the Wellness Hour, news that makes you healthier. I'm Randy Alvarez. Today's topic, replacing missing teeth with...
All right.
As soon as you get into the town, actually, it's probably in about a 5-mile radius. There is a very sweet chemically smell, right? It almost smells like burning rubber, if you know what burning rubber smells like.
Right.
But it's very overwhelming. It tickles the back of your throat. And yes, my eyes were watering for the first, hour and a half. The thing that I pointed out on Twitter anyway, and a lot of people understand this, is after a while, you kind of get used to a smell.
Right.
And so these people here may not be actually having that sense of smell of this toxicity that's in the air right now. And that's just going to be terribly lethal in the long run.
Yeah.
So have you seen...
They don't even know what they're breathing.
What are the businesses open downtown? You're very close to the downtown there in East Palestine. Again, a small town. Are businesses open? Are people actively commuting to and from work? Does it look like it's still business as usual or not?
No, there's very light traffic around here in general. There are a lot of people that have not come back.
No, I haven't, M8.
The evacuation orders were lifted, I believe earlier, or it was within the past week. And there are myriads of people, according to people that I have talked to, where, their friends won't come back. They're scared. They're scared, and they're getting no reinsurance from anybody. And so, yes, there are a lot of businesses downtown that are closed. And, it's sort of like, it's almost eerie. It's almost eerie. The majority of people in this town are here at this disaster site.
Nick, thank you so much for joining us. I know taking some time out as you're making your way around the town. Thank you for taking a few minutes to speak with us. We really appreciate it. I mean, please be.
So that's some more, eyewitness accounts of what's going on down there. It's crazy. I have one more segment I'm going to play before we wrap up the stream. I know it's getting late here on the East Coast. I'm getting a little bit tired here, and I'm going to be back tomorrow night. We're going to dive right back into Idaho 4, and hopefully I have a couple of callers that are going to call in and kind of discuss, their similar situation to what happened in Idaho. I'm very curious to hear about that. But, again, I had to kind of switch it up a little bit this evening. I appreciate everybody that's been hanging out. M8, you've been great. Susan was here earlier. It's nice to see some new faces in the crowd of many. The channel's getting close to 2,000 subscribers. I think I'm only about 40 subscribers away. So I'm looking to hopefully hit that by the end of February or maybe the beginning of March. And really build up this channel, because it's you that all matter here. It's you that spend this time over here. I really appreciate all of you. And you make me happy to come over. And I love seeing the familiar faces and people that come and take the time out of their life to join these streams. But I have one more 8-minute segment we're going to play through, talk through, and then we're going to wrap up the stream for the evening. M8 says he'll definitely be here tomorrow. I appreciate that. 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be here. We're going to talk Idaho 4. And he said, congrats. Thank you so much. So let's play through. And now this is what the mainstream media is finally reporting. And I had to look at this and find this report today. This was today. They actually just started reporting on this today, almost 10 days from the actual derailment. They actually decided to get off their asses and start reporting. So let's play through this. This is from CBS News. I'm not sure if they're going to shut me down, but what the hell, we'll go for it.
And turning now to the aftermath of the train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio, local residents are reluctant to accept advice from officials, saying that it's safe to return home 12 days after the accident. People are complaining about health issues. Lilia Luciano has more.
People are already complaining of health issues down there.
I would be alert and concerned, but I think I would probably be back in my house.
That was Ohio Governor Mike DeWine's answer when he was asked whether he would move back home if he lived in East Palestine, Ohio, though he did offer caveats.
I think that I would be drinking the bottled water.
There have been numerous reports in recent days of respiratory issues, burning eyes, and dead wildlife, including at least 3,500 confirmed dead fish killed by contamination.
We don't have any evidence of non-aquatic species suffering from the derailment.
5 of the train cars were carrying vinyl chloride, a highly combustible chemical linked to a higher risk of some kinds of cancers.
Great.
Crews conducted a controlled release of the carcinogen to reduce the risk of an explosion.
When you have combustion or burning, you create all sorts of different byproducts. It's important to understand to cast a wide net when you're testing, because you want to narrow out and rule out chemicals that could pose an acute health risk or linger around.
The governor and other officials lifted the town's evacuation order a week ago after health officials said air quality was back to acceptable levels and the city's main water supply, they said, was safe. 2 days after the evacuation order was lifted, the EPA said 3 additional hazardous chemicals were found on the derailed train cars.
This train apparently was not considered a high hazardous material train.
Yesterday, Governor DeWine revealed that since only 20 of the 150 cars contained hazardous materials, the company, citing federal law, was not required to notify the state of Ohio that the train had toxic chemicals on board.
Frankly,
let me guess, they're probably going to blame this on Trump. Let's take a guess. They're probably going to blame this on Trump.
If this is true, and I'm told it's true, this is absurd.
So joining us now with a little bit more on this is Dr. Lynn Goldman. She is the dean of the Milken Institute School of Public Health at George Washington University. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, I know if I lived in this area, I would be very concerned about whether or not it's safe after, a week and a half. So let's just talk about certain things. Let's talk about the water. We're hearing about fish dying. We're hearing about officials
there's nothing to worry about. Just go back.
Saying, listen, I would drink the bottled water and not the water in this area. What questions should residents be asking to determine whether or not their water is indeed safe?
Well, I do think that it is important to look at the water very carefully when you know that huge numbers of gallons of these chemicals had to be released in order to stop them from exploding there, and that a lot of that poured into the water. Then there is some possibility of that eventually reaching drinking water supplies. Not overnight. It takes a while for chemicals to move in the environment, but certainly there is that possibility. What could happen first in terms of contamination is private wells that are in the area, because it seems that the public water supplies are a bit farther away from where the spill occurred. But I would be very concerned about this myself, particularly if I had my own well. And I don't think there's any harm done in using bottled water. A lot of people drink bottled water anyway.
But what about, taking a bath? Stuff like that. I mean, you don't just drink the water, you do a lot of other things that I think would be concerning.
Well, theoretically, if there were vinyl chloride in the water and none has been found at this point, it could be released in a shower, a bath, cooking. But right now, that hasn't been the case. But again, if I had a private well and I were very, very close to this, I might even want to use bottled water for cooking.
I wonder if we can talk a bit about the air quality here, because the EPA says it's been monitoring air quality. They say it has not detected any levels of concern. Can you explain, Lynn, how you think that they may have gotten to that conclusion and whether or not in your assessment it's accurate?
Well, so here's the problem. In the immediate time of an incident like this, there aren't monitors running around that area. Nobody was anticipating that such a thing would happen. By the time that the EPA is in there with monitors, many of the releases would have occurred. So I don't think we'll ever know what the levels were in the critical few hours right after the incident occurred. But we do know that once a fire has burned out, once an incident has finished, we don't expect chemicals like vinyl chloride nor particulates to linger in the air. The problem is that during that initial period, even before there was much monitoring, and before people left the area, because it is difficult to get people to evacuate right away after an incident like this, there probably are people who were breathing, whether it was smoke or particles or even possibly chemicals in the air. And I think there's probably going to be the need for some kind of a medical check to make sure that they didn't suffer any lung damage from that. Or the other thing that I've seen happen is damage to the eyes from things that are in the smoke. Like if, for example, if there were acids that were released, as they did report that they did have at the time of the fire.
Really quickly, Doc.
Sorry about that. So apparently what happened was, I probably shouldn't use this mute button anymore. Don't unmute myself. Apparently what happened was there was a report out there that it was a wheel that actually had caught on fire, and the train had dragged that wheel for about 20 miles. And that's what caused the derailment. The thing that's crazy about this is, like, we're in 2023. You think that maybe they would have some type of heat sensors or some type of sensor on this wheels to, let them know there's a potential problem. So it's pretty crazy. We got a couple more minutes here on this video, then I'm gonna give my final thought, wrap this up, and we'll be back tomorrow night, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, for some more Ohio 4 conversation.
Doctor, no surprise, already a federal lawsuit has been filed by a couple of residents in the area. They want, ongoing health monitoring and related services for, to deal with the effects, not just immediate, but perhaps long-term effects. Can you talk to us about what federal protections are in place that already exist for residents when they have to deal with these types of incidents?
Well, you saw that there was quite a bit of a speed of a response, by both the EPA and the ATSCR. And so, there is the ability for responders to come. However, I would say that there are aspects in which the federal protections are not strong enough. The fact that our aging and in some ways weakening infrastructure around rail transport is used to transport vast quantities of these kinds of toxic chemicals, and that it's even possible to have an incident like this. I don't call it an accident, and I don't call it an accident because it's inevitable that there are going to be derailments and spills given what we're doing. So I do think that there's some strengthening that needs to happen there. I also think there are limits to what the federal government will be able to do to address the needs of the community. But it's very important that those community members, if they're observing things, if they believe that they have animals that are dying, if they're observing health problems, that they document those things. That's extremely important, and that gives the ability of the federal officials and others to actually investigate those incidents.
Okay, some good advice there, Dr. Lynn Goldman. Thanks so much for that. Wow.
you know, there needs to be some more YouTubers like myself that report on this. Let's get some information out there so people can realize what's going on in the world. And you know, I am beside myself that it's taken almost, you know, over 10 days for the mainstream media to actually report on what was going on there. You know, over almost 10 days for the transportation secretary Pete Buttigieg to step up and actually start having some conversation. He's not doing anything about this. Oh, we're looking into it, we're monitoring it, blah blah blah. He has no plan, you know, and we know he's failed. There was a bunch of issues going on, and he decided to take 2 months maternity to you know, take time off in some times of strife. So we know he's dropped the ball. Biden administration hasn't said anything. You know, we got UFOs flying all over the place. We got the war in Ukraine. I don't know, man. It's just crazy times. And I just feel like it's coming, you know, it's something's going to blow here in a little while. And I hope it doesn't. I really hope it doesn't, because I genuinely try to get up every day and think of the good that we have here in life. And, you know, I try to get up and live my best life every day, as you guys all should too. And just situations happen. But we got to be on top of this stuff for people. I mean, this is a huge fallout. This is going to take weeks, months, years to clean up. You know, and the people of that town didn't ask for this, but the government here really needs to step up and take care of this. You know, it always seems in these major disasters, things like this happen, that there's never any real fucking plan to help fix it, you know, and it just gets screwed up even more. I mean, look at New Orleans, how screwed up that was with the hurricane down there. The response to that was terrible. So I guess it's going to be my final thought for this evening. I appreciate everybody that helped join, you know, came and joined the stream this evening. A little bit of a different tone. We'll do some true crime tomorrow. And again, you know, this is really a true crime in itself. This is a true crime in America that's going on right now to the people in this town of Ohio, Palestine, Ohio. So I'll be back tomorrow night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I appreciate all of you again that stopped in, checked out the Opinionated Idiot channel. If it's your first time over here, please make sure to subscribe, hit that bell notification so every time I go live, you guys will know, or when I drop a new video. Basically, what I do is I'll chop down these videos into smaller sections, re-upload them so you can catch them in little blips and blurs. And I'll occasionally do a spot video as well too, but basically a live streamer, like the live atmosphere. And I love all the conversation. M8 says, thanks for the talk. He says, I love true crime. Yeah, come join us tomorrow night. We're going to do the Brian Koberger Ohio 4 case. I've been doing covering a lot of that lately, digging up a lot of things. And we should have a good action-packed show tomorrow night. I'm going to sign out. It is getting late here on the East Coast. Again, appreciate all of you. Take care. Be well. See you again. See you tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Standard Time. See y'all then.